Hello, Alexandras. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Livolsi, and I am a physical therapist, and I work at Tufts Medical Center. I just learned about your Lucky in Love contest yesterday, and I am so excited. I think that is so amazing that you guys are giving away free wedding dresses to essential employees. I know myself and everyone else who was an essential worker during this pandemic has worked so hard, and everyone is so deserving. So I figured, why not? I might as well enter and see what happens. So here I am. I'm going to talk to you guys about my story of working on the front lines during the COVID-19 pandemic in a major Boston hospital. All right, so before we talk about work, I want to talk a little bit about my fiance and our engagement stories. So Vinny and I have been together for 8 years, and we just got engaged in April. I'm so excited. He's such a great guy. I can't wait to marry him, and I really want to tell you guys about our engagement story because I think it's really awesome. So originally, Vinny was planning on figuring out an excuse to get both of our families together and propose kind of in person in front of everyone. However, as quarantine progressed, he realized that we probably wouldn't be seeing our families for a little while, so he got creative. So on my way home from work one night, this was at the beginning of April, I got a text from his brother saying, hey, is anyone around tonight for like a Zoom call? I want to do trivia. So I said, oh yeah, I'm around, but I really didn't think much of it. I'm tired. It's the middle of the week. I said, yeah, let's play, and that was it. There was a couple other family members on the call, and they said that they were around and that they wanted to play too. So I get home on the couch. I'm literally sweatpants, sweatshirt, and my hair, and a big bun on the top of my head. So we have a video to prove it if you guys do want to see that. So we're sitting on the couch, and we get on the call, and his family's on the call. His aunt was actually just happened to be at his grandparents' house too. So we got to say hi to them. So they were on the call as well. So, we're chatting, saying hi, and right before we're about to start playing, Vinny goes, oh, there's just one thing I want to say. And so he got down on one knee and proposed, and it was so amazing and so exciting. And I was like so surprised. He did a really good job of surprising me and, making sure everyone was there. So after he proposed, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait to call my parents and tell them, what just happened. And as I'm thinking that in my head, he goes, oh, and Rachel, your parents are on the call too. So my parents and my brother actually logged on and were on the call the whole time. So they got to see everything. So he did such a great job of getting everyone and getting the family together during the call. So it was so amazing. So I give him a lot of credit for that. All right, so like I said earlier, I am a physical therapist and I work at Tufts Medical Center. So here's my badge, that's me. So normally outside of this pandemic, I am an outpatient physical therapist. So I work at an outpatient clinic where patients come in to see me for various things, back pain, neck pain. They had some sort of surgery that they're rehabbing from. So I see patients, once or twice a week to about 6 to 8 weeks or so. However, during quarantine, our clinic shut down and we had to go work inpatient, so inside the hospital, working with patients who are sick. So I essentially was learning a new job during this pandemic. I had not been an inpatient physical therapist since I was a student, so it was definitely a challenge to learn sort of a new area of physical therapy. I've been a physical therapist for 4 years now, so to do something that I haven't done in 4 years was definitely a little bit of a challenge. But I was so thankful that Tufts kept all the therapists on staff, and they just kind of let us work inpatient. So I was, really thankful to have a job during this, and happy to help in any way that I could. So when people think of essential employees at a hospital, most of the time they think of doctors and nurses, and I worked with some of the best doctors and nurses during this time. They advocated for their patients, they fought for their patients, and they saved so many lives. So I was so thankful that we were all able to work as a team and do what was best for the patients. What a lot of people don't realize is how essential physical therapists are, not only during, normal times out of hospital, but especially during a pandemic. So as an inpatient physical therapist, I would work with patients every day with coronavirus, working on getting them stronger, getting their, leg strength back, working on their walking, working on their balance. Patients who are really sick and who had been in bed for a long time had a really hard time getting up and getting moving again. And, that's where I came in and saw patients every single day for, sometimes it was a couple of weeks before they were strong enough to go home. And so, it was really rewarding and definitely a lot of hard work to see my patients progress and see how well they did. So every day I would come into work and I would get my list of patients that I had to see. So, most of the time, all of my patients did have coronavirus. So, like everyone mostly saw in the news, I was wearing, the gown, the N95, the goggles, gloves. So I was, in full PPE all day long working with these patients. I would then, go into a patient's room and, assess, figure out what was going on, and then we would get started with exercises. So as most people know, coronavirus is a disease that affects the lungs, and when the lungs are affected, it gets harder and harder to breathe. Many patients ended up being intubated and on a ventilator in order to, a machine that breathes for you until they were strong enough again to breathe on their own. So if you think about patients who are on ventilators for a really long time, a couple of weeks, they've been in bed, lying in bed all that time. So what happens during that time is that your muscles get weak, your endurance gets weak, even just, your muscles that breathe are weak. So that's where I come in, and I was working with patients every single day to get, their muscles stronger. So a typical session, I would come in the room, kind of assess how the patient is doing at that time. We have to take, blood pressure, monitor their oxygen, and we really have to monitor the patient the whole time during our session. Some patients could only tolerate maybe, 15 minutes of exercise that day, or some patients could tolerate, closer to like 45 minutes of exercise that day. It just was being able to really monitor the patient and figure out exactly what they needed. The patients, when I first started seeing a patient, if they had been on a ventilator for a long time, most patients were really, really weak. So we would start doing, some exercises in bed just to warm them up. And sometimes even just getting a patient sitting up to the edge of the bed took, myself and another person, and, a lot of effort from the patient. And, even that felt like running a marathon for a patient. And if you can imagine, if how hard that was just sitting up at the edge of the bed, you can imagine how challenging it was for these patients to get back to walking and moving like they had been before. So every day I would work with these patients for, a couple of weeks, and eventually we would progress to sitting up at the edge of the bed, working on standing up, progressing to walking, and then progressing to whatever activities they needed to do in order to go home safe. So, as time went on, I got to work with so many patients who, really fought every single day. It was so rewarding to see someone who, when I first started working with them, like I said, just sitting up felt like, so much effort and so much work. Whereas 3 weeks later, the person was, walking around and able to kind of, move like they normally would. So that was so, so rewarding. One patient that really stuck out to me, he was probably about 50 years old or so, and he had been in the ICU for weeks, and it was really touch and go at some points. And, finally he was off the vent and, progressing and doing a lot better. And, the first day that we sat up and stood up, and he started crying, and he was so, so thankful that he was able to, get moving and make the progress to get better. And to know that I was a part of that was, so amazing. So he is actually doing really well, and he is discharged home, and he's walking around. So, to know that I was a part of something like that is so rewarding. So yeah, that's my story. I am now back in my outpatient clinic. We're open again, so I'm back to more of doing what I normally was, but as challenging and sometimes stressful and even scary at times it was to work, on the front lines, work with patients with coronavirus. It was such a rewarding experience. I got to, see things and witness amazing things from patients, and stories that I will have forever in the back of my head, just of the strength of patients, the courage of patients to work with me every single day to get stronger and to eventually, walk again was so amazing. So I have some pictures that I can kind of show you guys at the end of this, but I really hope you enjoyed my story. I hope I hear from you guys. I actually have an appointment at Alexandra's on September 19th, I believe. So I'll be coming there anyways. So I'm looking forward to meeting you all. And I just think that every essential employee during this time has worked so, so hard and is so deserving. So I think this is really great. And I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. So yeah, thanks. And I'll see you guys soon.